Hello everyone. Today's topic of discussion is Lyophilizer. I am Rajdeep Bokre, Assistant Professor from Tadasep Kore College of Pharmacy. Today we are going to discuss about the process of lyophilization, the instrumentation of lyophilizer, and the basic principle behind the lyophilization and the standard operating procedure regarding the lyophilizer. As we see in this slide, the lyophilizer is also known as a freeze dryer, or we can call a lyophilization as a freeze drying process. So lyophilization is the process in which the ice is directly gets converted into gaseous form without gets converted into liquid form or state. What it actually means is it omits the conversion of solid into liquid and then gas. It directly converts the solid into gas, and this process of lyophilization is basically based on the physical foundation of a sublimation process. So the conversion of solid directly into gas is known as a sublimation. For the process of sublimation, there is a requirement of a vacuum environment which will be created by the vacuum pump. So the function of vacuum pump is basically to create a vacuum in the system which is required for the sublimation process, where there will be conversion of a solid directly into the gases by omitting the liquid state. Then to the next slide, where we are going to discuss about the instrumentation of lyophilizer. So we can here see that there is a multiple manifold that there or the vacuum release lock knobs. So there are many knobs for the release of vacuum or adjustment of a vacuum. Then there are shells inside the acrylic chamber where we can put our samples in a particular manner. There is an on off switch, there is a condenser, then there is a LCD monitor for the uh, information regarding temperature, pressure, or adjustment of the temperature, pressure, and there is a vacuum pump. So there are mainly three components which are important for the lyophilizer. The first one is the drying chamber. We can see that the upper part of the instrument is called as a drying chamber. It is made up of a acrylic plastic, so it is also called as acrylic plastic chamber. It has knobs to the chamber where they can use to maintain or adjust the pressure and vacuum of the chamber. Then there is the next important part of the lyophilizer is condenser. A condenser is the instrument which creates the freezing temperature and the latent heat which is basically required for the lyophilization process. Then at third there is a vacuum pump. The only role of the vacuum pump is to create vacuum inside the acrylic chamber to produce a vacuum environment which is required for the sublimation process. There is also one point which is known as a drain point, from where we drain the excess water, which is used means it is used to remove of excess water available in the chamber or the system. So this is all about the instrumentation. Then if we look at the process of lyophilization, then the procedure goes in the particular flow of a cycle, we can say that. So at the first step, it is known as a pre-treatment. In pre-treatment, there is a preparation of a samples by the addition of a cryoprotectants to stop the agglomeration, or to avoid the agglomeration of the sample. We simply add the cryoprotectants in the formulation. Then at the second step, it is called as freezing stage, in which in this stage the sample is frozen into ice in deep pressure to reduce the quantity of a solvent. Then at the next step, it is the sublimation process, or we can also call it as primary drying. This process extends from 20 to 24 hours. It is also called as um, no. The secondary drying is also known as desorption. It is the release of an absorbed substance from a surface. While we are discussing about the primary drying, the temperature and pressure kept below the triple point. So what is triple point? The triple point is the temperature at which your sample only exists in the solid phase. So sample needs to be in the solid phase because the sample required is actually needs to be in a ice form or solid ice form to convert it into directly into gaseous form and achieve a powder formulation. So that is a requirement. About 90 to 95 or 95 to 98% water is removed from this only primary drying process. At secondary drying, there is a removal of excessive water or moisture present after the processing. By the primary drying, the whatever water is available in the system is eliminated by secondary drying. This process is continued at the same temperature, but the pressure is increased by the slight margin. It is carried out for basically it's around 8 to 10 hours. Then there are some standard operating procedures regarding the instrument of lyophilizer. So first is the preparing the lyophilizer. So in the preparing, what we mean by meaning of the preparing the lyophilizer. So basically you need to inspect the lyophilizer about its cleanliness. All necessary components are there. Check the connection of vacuum pump and condenser are connected, and the ventilation of room, if there is AC then it is on or not. Then there is a at second step there is a loading the material or your formulation. Place the material in appropriate containers ensuring they are properly sealed or labeled. You need to check they are properly sealed and labeled, so there will be no further problems regarding the identification or the proper procedure of the lyophilization process. Arrange the containers with the even spacing. So while you arrange or place your sample in that particular chamber in the shells, you have to maintain a proper spacing. Then at the third step, freezing step. We already discussed about freezing step. After already placed sample, we can discuss in the freezing step that deep freezed sample is required to be placed to start the lyophilization process. So the desired freezing temperature is adjusted, then the freezing is initiated and process and allow the material to reach the target temperature in uniform way. Then at next step, which is fourth, which is primary drying, as we earlier discussed. But with the standard operating procedures, first of all you need to start the vacuum pump to create a vacuum, then set the shelf temperature and chamber pressure as per the requirement of the formulation. Then there is a application of heat to shells to promote sublimation of the frozen solvent. Then at next step there is a secondary drying, in which once primary drying is complete. So primary drying will be for a several hours. We are, as we discussed, it is around 20 to 24 hours also. So at the secondary drying, increase the temperature to facilitate deabsorption of any remaining solvent or moisture available in the formulation. After that, cooling and sealing is carried out gradually to reduce the temperature to ambient conditions to cool the dried product. And then there is a cleaning and maintenance required after each run as per the manufacturer's cleaning procedure. So these are the standard operating procedures, but for the particular samples we need to adjust the pressure to 0.05 m bar or the 0.05 m bar also. So we need to check what pressure we need to adjust, what temperature we need to adjust. So these are the procedure, there are minor things we need to keep in mind. Okay, so start the while you start after 10 minutes, if you want to create a vacuum pump, then there is a warm up mode. which you will need to wait for the after starting the warm up for 20 minutes. The steps should be followed when putting inside the chamber. Freeze the sample in the deep freezer or liquid nitrogen. As we discussed earlier, we need to deep freeze the sample, and then we need to uh, adjust the particular required temperature and pressure to have the desired results by the process of lyophilization. So this is the process regarding the or the standard operating procedures regarding the lyophilization or the lyophilizer, and I have given the information regarding the principle, the basic instrumentation, and the standard operating procedures. Thank you. If you like the video, like, share, subscribe.